to bring you another Nothing But Niners podcast, YouTube, whatever you want to call it. Today we're going to break down the Saturday night game between the 49ers and Cowboys. But before we get into all that, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button, just like it says right there on your screen. If it's your first time joining us, make sure you do that. Set your bell for notifications so you know when we go live. We bring you tons of content, breaking news, film breakdown, game breakdowns, pre-games, behind enemy lines, tons of different things. So check us out here on YouTube if this is your first time. Make sure you hit that bell notification. Check us out on Twitter and Snapchat, and that is at Nothing But Niners, all spelled out with a 9, at Nothing But 9 ERS. That's Twitter and Snapchat. Nothing But Niners, all spelled out on Facebook and Instagram. And today, I got my homie Eric Crocker here. What's going on, baby? If Croc's there, I don't know where he went. Oh, I got you. You're muted, so give me a second. There you go.
Okay. There we go. Oh, yeah. I'm glad to join you and talk some 49er football, man.
Yeah, man. I was listening to your podcast earlier on your breakdown on what it's called, Striking Gold. That's what it's called. With Rob Louder. If you guys don't already, make sure you check out the Striking Gold podcast on the Blue Wire Pod. Also check out at Press Cov Podcast or Press Coverage Podcast on Blue Wire as well. And you can also check out Eric, obviously, at Eric_Crocker, right? At Eric_Crocker and at Press Cov Podcast. Yep. So, Eric, man, we know you were out there during training camp. We had you on the show. We talked a little bit about what was going on and things that you were looking for and things that you saw. What was your biggest takeaway from the game against the Cowboys on Saturday night?
For preseason is tough because, some starters are playing, some not. Most of the 49er starters weren't. My biggest thing was just who's going to show up, right? So I was intrigued by a few guys that I feel like could possibly contribute to the 49ers this season. The three guys I was kind of really tuning in on were obviously Deebo Samuel, he was our second-round pick. Jalen Hurd, he was our third-round pick. And, there were a lot of people that were saying, oh, we should redshirt him and all this, that, and the other. So I was really interested to watch Jalen Hurd. And then Emmanuel Mosley because, he's one of the guys, a second-year player, worked his way up from the practice squad last year, but got put on IR, in his first action. He broke something or hurt something. I want to say against the Raiders. So those are the three guys that I really wanted to focus on more so than anything else during that game. And it's kind of tough, preseason. You got a lot of guys on the field that won't even make the team, but I felt like for the most part, it was a good showing for those three guys, and those were the three guys that I really wanted to see going into it. So I was happy with that.
Yeah, I was not big, and I'm so glad to be wrong on this. I was not big when we drafted Jalen Hurd. I was like, I thought it was a reach. I thought it was just kind of, there was other guys out there like I would have liked to seen like a Mac Wilson or, a different type of receiver than him to go back to back with receivers. But, man, this guy's proved me wrong already. Watching his videos of his footwork is crazy fast, just his physicality. He literally caught that football the other night for that first touchdown and turned into a running back. Straight physical, drove his way for the last 2 or 3 yards to get into the end zone. Really, really impressed me. I'm kind of interested to see how he's utilized in this offense. I know today he was in the backfield a little bit at practice. It was reported, but that was with Nick Mullins, wasn't with the 11-on-11s, but taking passes from the being in the backfield. So that's kind of interesting. I want to see how they kind of utilize and throw him into this offense. He had – what did he have? He had Jalen Hurd had 3 catches, 31 yards, and 2 touchdowns. So that's not bad for a rookie debut. I mean, obviously 3 catches, 31 yards is not a lot, but those 2 touchdowns were amazing. And as soon as he caught that fade pass, I went right to Twitter and I said, holy shit, guys, we got a guy who can catch a fade, even with a shitty quarterback at the helm. So, the fade has bitten us so much as Niner fans. And to see him, I mean, obviously he wasn't going up against a superstar corner either. And it was kind of shitty coverage. But still, the way that he moved, he got his body around, he went up, he got the football, came down in bounds with it. What were your thoughts on the fade catch?
Now it was good. He high pointed the ball. The quarterback put it in the place where he gave the receiver a chance to be able to go up, turn and adjust. It was high and away from the defensive back. So I think that was pretty much as good as you could hope it would play out. And he's a shade under 6'5". He's a big guy. If he can add that element to his game and be consistent with it, the 49ers definitely have a really nice, weapon with him, because that was one of his knocks coming out. Or he wasn't a contested catch guy. His percentage on contested catches was low. Now, a lot of that had to do, in my opinion, with the fact that he played running back his whole life. And now, okay, I'm playing receiver for the first time. There were things that I thought he did extremely well with, at receiver, running routes, catching the ball away from his body, soft hands. Those things look natural. But the thing that he didn't really have was catching the contested catch balls. And at running back, you catch the ball from a different platform. You're catching the ball out of the backfield in space. You're catching the ball, behind the line of scrimmage a lot. Not a lot of bodies hanging on and catch it over people. So, I feel like, that's an element of his game where he should continue to get better. And if he does, the 49ers really have something good there.
Yeah, because I mean, not he wasn't the only one that went up and got a contested catch. Now that pass to Deebo Samuel, 42 yards or whatever it was, could have easily been a touchdown if it was a better throw. And but Deebo Samuel showed that aggressiveness coming back and towering and fighting for the ball to come down with it. And if we can get those two guys to be good with contested catches, get George Kittle to be better with contested catches. Even guys like Caden Smith, if he makes this team, he was a big, contested catch guy in college. That's something I felt like we were lacking last year, that aggressiveness, that physicality from receivers. And so far, it looks like we have it with a Deebo Samuel, a Jalen Hurd, and possibly a Caden Smith, and if George Kittle can get better. How much do you think that factors in with our receivers if we have more than one of those guys who can do that and give that type of physicality and be aggressive like that? Like, what are your thoughts on how much will that help this offense?
I think it just kind of goes with the theme that, for most of the players, versatility. You want guys that are good at multiple things and not just one thing. So, yeah, Deebo Samuel, Jalen Hurd, they show that they can make those contested catches, but you also saw, Deebo Samuel taking in around 15 yards. We also saw both Deebo Samuel and Jalen Hurd catch deep crossers, and we saw how Hurd finished. So it's great to have that aspect of your game, but you don't want that to be the thing that you have to hang on to be successful in the NFL. And I think those guys not only bring the contested catch ability to the game, but they also have other aspects of the game where I think they'll excel. And a lot of that had to do with us at Nothing But Niners. We always talk about the whole big receiver thing, and I've been on it. You guys have heard me all the time say, I don't care how big a guy is. It's all about skill set. And I don't want somebody that's just a jump ball guy. I want somebody that is uh, versatile, and he can win in multiple ways. That's the scariest thing for a defensive back. If I'm guarding somebody and I know only way he can beat me is a jump ball, like I'm gonna win most of those. He'll get his here and there, but for the most part, throughout a game, I'm gonna whoop his ass. So, it's really nice to see those guys not only be able to get the contested catches, but they have that other element to their game too, where I think they'll be successful.
Yeah, so West Coast says in here, I saw he puts this comment, he says it's that SEC mentality. I totally agree with him. I mean, we got a couple guys from the SEC now. They're physical. Their agility is good. Which we're talking about aggressiveness. You heard Kyle Shanahan say the other day, Bourne, Hurd, and Deebo have strong hands. And when he was talking about strong hands, he was talking about being aggressive, going back to the ball, being able to bring those contested catches down. What I've been seeing from – I want to get your opinion on this. I want to get your opinion. I don't want to tell you what mine is yet, but I want to get your opinion on what you see from Dante Pettis so far right now.
Yeah, I mean, just from what I've seen in camp, I think we expected him to take that that next step, right? That year or two, he's going to take the next step. And I just personally, throughout training camp, it just wasn't something that I saw. And I felt like some of the plays that I wanted to see him make, and he had the opportunity. I mean, I remember coming on here and talking about it after practice. I was standing right there for it, where Jimmy Garoppolo threw a beautiful pass. It was a deep crosser. He threw it upfield. I mean, all Pettis had to do was, track it in, and he probably would have ran for a touchdown. And those are the things that you want to see him just be able to routinely make, right? Those are the things that guys like, uh, Odell Beckham, and not to kind of compare to Odell Beckham, but I'm just saying guys that you expect to be a number one receiver on your team, they make those plays, and there's more, not like, oh man, he did this or that, right? We've seen Odell do things like that so much. It's just like, okay, whatever. Um, well, Pettis didn't do that, and I thought other times, he wasn't very aggressive. Anything that was contested, he wasn't good. Grant Cohn pointed that out about a year ago, and I think people got upset about it. And even myself, I'm like, nah, man, he got this, or he can do this and that. But I haven't seen it, so that is something I would like to see from Pettis. I saw somebody say he's been a little bit soft, or I see Gator arms. Um, that's yeah, he's that part of his game is kind of lacking. I talked about guys just having an overall good skill set and not just be good at one thing. If his main trait, and I can create separation, but I can't do much else. If a guy gets hands on me, or if I have to catch a contested pass, then he's not gonna be that number one guy that fans were hoping for.
Right. And, to take you back to what you said about the Gator arms and things like that, you heard Kyle Shanahan say in his presser, which was kind of interesting to me. First, it was kind of interesting to see Dante Pettis out there playing when 28 or 30 other guys, because Solomon Thomas and somebody else decided weren't playing as well. So was something that stood out to me was on that interception, I felt like Dante Pettis could have made a play on the ball, but he didn't. And this was when I was watching the game. And then Kyle Shanahan comes on the presser and says, well, Nick Mullins' interception was worse because he kind of threw into coverage somebody that he didn't see, as where C.J. Beathard's interception to Pettis was kind of the same, but he felt Pettis could have made a play on the ball and at least tried to knock it out or block it or, get it out of his hands, which Pettis doesn't do. Pettis doesn't seem to go well when there is traffic there. That's what it really seems like. It really seems like he pulls back. He doesn't extend his arms. And I was saying on the show the other night, I was saying it wasn't that Dante Pettis is going to get, kicked off this team or not make this 53, but he's competing right now to have a more significant role.
Right. And I think, I saw some people, getting cut and stuff like that is extreme. There's still big time value in having Dante Pettis. I just don't think that he's that number one alpha receiver, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. Be a good number two. Be a good number three. Be a great number three. He just might not be that guy where, when the game is tight and you need a guy that's going to catch the ball regardless if he's open or not, he just might not be that guy, right? And that's okay. But there are going to be other ways that Dante Pettis wins. He still can win. I think he just has to play off other guys. He's gonna have to play off of Debo. He's gonna have to play off of George Kittle. I think we just can't run an offense through him. So yeah, people talking about he's getting cut. I mean, whatever they're talking about, no, he's just not that number one alpha receiver.
Right.
I feel like we can count on in clutch, and I could be proved wrong. Maybe he adds that aspect to his game. Maybe he starts to get more comfortable or confident, and he gets that down. Right now, we haven't seen it. There are other guys that are better at it than him, but that doesn't mean that there's just no value with him. I'll take Pettis any day as our number two or number three receiver, and I'll be happy with that. I think the hopes was just that he would be better than that.
Right, and that's what I was kind of trying to say the other night, as in, Dante Pettis needs to play better in these preseason games, and needs to play better in these preseason games, not to make the 53, but to have a more significant role in this offense. And I think that's where he needs to step up his game, because right now, like I forget who said it. It might have been Grant Cohn when I was listening to a Periscope or something like that. He says right now he sees Dante Pettis as maybe the fourth or fifth best receiver on this roster right now. as in all things together. So whether that's physicality, the ability to catch the football, separation, all things going. I don't think he's that low, but I think there's a lot of things for his game that he can work on. He's got to wiggle. The guy's going to get open and be in space. I totally agree with that. The physicality's not there. The contested catches aren't there. But I think he plays better in the slots compared to outside the numbers. And that's just kind of how I see Dante Pettis right now, is he's more of a slot guy than he is, I'm going to, play outside the numbers and get those extra stretch of yards, 20-yard digs or whatever you want to call them. But he's just not, to me, a number one receiver is somebody that you can trust. They don't have to have all these traits like a Julio Jones. A number one receiver to me is somebody that you have trust in, who's going to come down with the football, go up and get the football, no matter what it is, whether it's physicality, getting separation, getting open in dire times of need in the football game, crucial situations. So, I think Pettis is a great receiver, but I think that Kyle Shanahan is doing the right thing right now by trying to light that fire under his ass and saying, look, this is your time to prove this right now. Is other people on this team expendable by the way you play? Or are you just trying to carve out, whatever little playing time you're trying to carve out?
Yeah, I think with Pettis, man, it just comes down to he might just be somebody where you're just gonna have whatever it is that he does well, just do that with him. So if it's just getting him in space where it seems like that's where he works well, right? He works well in space, whether it's in the slot or whether if he can run through zones from the outside. He definitely can beat man. You just can't count on him to beat man. So at the end of the day, it's just fourth and fifth best receiver. I don't know. I don't know about that. But I will say he has a certain skill set, and they should use him at that. And I see somebody say everybody's saying on Pettis after one preseason game. I've been saying this all the training camp because I went to the training camps and I didn't think that he was performing well. I thought I talked about the last training camp practice I was at. I'm standing right there on the sideline. He dropped a deep ball during walkthrough. So clearly he's just not there mentally or whatever the case is. He is who he is. And again, I think that there is value there. I just don't think he's a wide receiver one as far as what he's shown so far. And there is nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. And maybe he's a Marvin Jones, right? Marvin Jones just has to play off of somebody. Maybe he's Tyler Boyd. Tyler Boyd just went for 1,000 yards. But okay, he has to play off of A.J. Green. It's not a knock on Pettis that he's not a number one. There's not many in the NFL.
No, and that's what I'm trying to say. I'm not trying to knock on Pettis either. I just think that he's, I don't know how to say this. He's lacking in parts of his game that I think he can get better at. And he's only a year two guy. So can he grow? Absolutely. It's just a matter of, does he want to grow? And I think that's what Kyle Shanahan is trying to kind of prove to him right now. I know you have this in you, but I need to see it. And I think that's why he was, and maybe the whole being, the offseason being the number one receiver kind of went to his head, not meaning in a bad way, but being nervous or being, not playing to his full capability because he wants to make sure that he is competing and playing the way that he can be. You know what I mean? So, all right. So enough about Pettis. I think this receiving core has shown some glances of being good compared to what we've seen before. Can you agree on that? I know it's only one preseason game, but
yeah, it's tough because the other guys, I don't think ideally you want to count on rookies to lead your team, especially two of them, because they're gonna have their ups and downs. You just hope that Pettis can just step up, and the head coach is challenging him to do better and be more, right? So just do better and be more, and we wouldn't even be having this conversation. So he has all week next week or this week really to go up against the Broncos and go up against a guy like Chris Harris Jr. and I'm pretty sure we'll hear all the reports on how they're doing, and we'll see.
So this comment said Marquise and Debo on the outside, Taylor in the slot, Kittle at tight end. Then we put in Hurd and Pettis when we get to the red zone. I think To me, I don't think that's something we would do because it's kind of then you know who your red zone targets are going to be. People can study their things. Like they got to be on the field other than just the red zone. Would you agree with that?
Yeah. No, I mean you can have guys that specifically are good in the red zone, and I mean even then it doesn't mean that you're going to give them the ball, and you can still use them in multiple ways. But I just don't think that I don't think that's necessary as far when it comes to Pettis. He's good in the open field too. Saw him catch 75-yard touchdown against the Seahawks. We saw him catch a bunch of open field passes against the Broncos. He finished the season really strong. We just want to see that be consistent. Is that who you are? But to kind of limit him to just a red zone receiver, I think that's kind of ridiculous.
Well, no, they were saying limit Debo and Jalen Hurd as red zone and keep Goodwin and Pettis on the outside with the slot being Taylor. So only bringing in Hurd and Debo in the red zone.
No, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that either. I think eventually you just have to find out who are your guys, who are the guys that we're going to be playing consistently and moving forward with. Yeah, if there's certain things you want to do with, 49ers having her line up in the backfield today. There's certain things you want to do specifically in the red zone, great. But as far as those guys, they can win all over the field. I don't think it just has to be red zone, especially Debo and Hurd. They can win all over. We threw a quick screen to Hurd and he picked up like 15 yards. So yeah,
Yeah.
I don't think it has to do with any. It doesn't. Yeah, no, it's fine.
Yeah. All right. So enough about receivers. I know you're out there at football practice. Somebody said, "Yo, why you got to wear that shirt, Brody, on the show?" But he's got to represent. He's an ex-DB for the Jets.
Am I didn't know I was coming on the show, so if I'd have known, I definitely wouldn't have put on the shirt. But yeah, I mean, I used to play for him. But I will say this: as a New York Jet, um, I had a 49ers phone case the whole time, so I was still Niner gang. Um, I just was on that team. I still was rooting for him. I remember when I saw the news that Michael Crabtree ruptured his Achilles. Like I was like, wow. Like I was devastated. Wow. You really? I'm telling the other people. I remember telling my teammates, like, bro, y'all see this? Like Michael Crabtree ruptured his Achilles. They're looking at me like, so.
So
My bad. I'm still
yeah,
a
my
49
bad. My
fan.
bad. I'm
But
still.
you can't just turn it off. You can't. I was a 49er fan for so long. And by the time I got my NFL shot, I was 24, 25. Like you can't just turn it off. Like you can't just turn off being a fan, especially with how big of a fan I was.
You know 49er Hodge. He says, "Ha ha ha! Croc got caught on laundry day." So that's what it is. But yeah, man, you gotta still represent. They gave you a shot in the NFL. You know what I mean? So I would probably still do the same thing too. But all right, so let's get off receivers. Give me another good takeaway that you saw, and give me your second good that you saw, whether it was a defensive player or an offensive player.
Well, I spoke about Emmanuel Mosley, and I specifically wanted to see Mosley and DJ Reed. I wanted to see who got the first team reps at nickel corner, and I wanted to see who started opposite Kelly Witherspoon. And I wasn't expecting really to see Emmanuel Mosley start in that capacity. I knew that in the slot it had to be one of those guys, but to see Mosley just straight up start alongside of Akello, I was like, okay, that's pretty cool. That's what I want to see, right? This is a guy that was undrafted. I liked his skill set last year, and I remember, I had him making the practice squad over Tarvarius McFadden, and it's just cool to see somebody. Everybody talks about develop, right? Oh, develop this guy, develop, develop, develop. Well, the 49ers have guys that are developing, and they have guys that have ability. And everybody's not going to be a first round. Everybody's not going to be a big name free agent, right? You really need guys that are just going to do their jobs. They're going to step in, and those are guys that a lot of times are undrafted guys, low draft pick guys, and it looks like Mosley. Well, he played well. He had the first play on the pass interference. Obviously, we don't want to see that. You know, we don't want to see that. But I thought outside of that, man, I thought he played extremely well. His tackling was really good. And a lot of times you don't want to see a defensive back with a bunch of tackles. A lot of times that means that they're giving up catches. But his tackling was, zones. He was playing off, taking away the whole shots, driving down, making tackles for minimal gain, 1 and 2 yard gains. I was extremely impressed with how he was coming up in the plays that he was making. So, Mosley, man, that was a guy that, you know, if there's no Sherman or if Sherman or Kello goes down or Verrett, we don't know who's going to step in, right? Who's going to step in, or if there's no Verrett, right now we're as I'm confident with Sherman and Witherspoon on at the corners, but if one of those guys goes down and there's no Verrett, who's going to fill in, right? And that's what I was wondering, like, man, who's going to step up? Well, it looks like Mosley stepped up, and all you want not the weak link. So yeah, that's the other guy. I was really excited about how he played.
Yeah, he actually started the game off as a corner, didn't he? He was like all over the place. He started off as a corner, then he was playing strong for a little bit, then he was playing free.
He started off at corner. No, Mosley started off at corner, and then when they went to 3 receiver sets, he slid down into the slot and played the nickel. And Maben came in and played the outside. So I think that's how they did. I think Maben played. So Mosley started on the outside and base defense, and when they went to nickel, he slid down, and Maben came in and played outside corner.
Yo, let me just ask you this: So you remember the Green Bay game last year, right? When Maben came in, and they just started attacking him, and they went down the field. Well, why? Tell me why. Yesterday, the Cowboys did exactly the same thing on their last drive. They just attacked Maben like 2 or 3 times on the left side of the field.
Yeah, maybe it's just not good. And my thing with him and with him and Dante Johnson is like these guys have been getting abused all camp. All camp, these guys have been getting abused. You can't find anybody better to give an opportunity to, because at the end of the day, that's all it is, right? It's like, if you make the roster, great. If you don't, it's not gonna hurt us. But give somebody else an opportunity that we just, hey, well, we don't know about this kid. Maybe he can be good, right? To see Maven out there and still give up, just get abused, get picked on. We saw the same thing with Dante Johnson. Actually, he actually didn't have a terrible game. I thought that that pass interference calling him was trash. But just give somebody else an opportunity. It's like who's recruiting for you guys? Who's your scouts? They can't find somebody better than Maven and Dante Johnson. That's my issue. So yeah, I'm kind of over the whole Maven and Dante Johnson thing. Is what are they good for? Are they good for special teams? I haven't seen that either. If they were if one of them was like a special team standout, then I get it, because you do want to have one of those guys where it's just like, man, he's just a monster. They can't block him. He's a gunner. He's a first person down, kind of like Mostert, right? But just somebody in the secondary where we don't want to have him have to play defense, but he's just so good on special teams. We keep him around. Well, you can't even say that about Maven or Dante Johnson. So it's like, what are these guys good for? And they obviously have struggled covering. So, yeah, that's I don't get it.
I'm calling up the Niners like, yo, Eric Crocker's available for scouting, so just get his ass out there right now, especially for DBs. When we brought back Dante Johnson, I was like, why? Like, why are we bringing him back? And we still had Greg Maben on the team at the time, so that you went from one Dookie player to another Dookie player. And, I'm really interested to see when Verrett comes back, hopefully week 1. Hopefully we can see him a little bit, mixed in here and there. I think he'll be rotating. I really do. I think he'll be rotating probably in the beginning on certain situations, maybe. Or maybe even play the slot with Kawan being down now. He played the slot before, right? In San Diego?
Who's that?
Verrett.
No, no, he's an outside corner, but they did some matchup things with him to where he did line up in the slot and cover. Now, I know a lot of people just think like, oh, if somebody's smaller, they just play in the slot. And that's not really the case, because in the slot, like, now you're closer to the line of scrimmage, the opposite line. Like, you have to be stout against the run as well. And that's where somebody like Quan Williams excels. Like, he's really good against the run. So Yeah, Verrett, I think you in more of a dime situation where you want four cornerbacks on the field, four cover guys, which I don't think I've seen the 49ers do a whole lot of that. But with somebody like Verrett and you have Kwan Williams, that might be something where they kind of throw that wrinkle in, where it's like, okay, it's obvious passing down. Let's just like Rex Ryan used to do that. Rex Ryan, when I would watch film, like I would see him like dude would literally throw out there seven defensive backs like seven, like five corners on the field at one time, two safeties, and then he'd have his front four, and he would do different things, but he would just match up. We see the Patriots do a lot of things like that, where they just do matchup, like it's just hey, you're assigned to this guy, you're assigned to this guy, you're assigned to that guy, and that's how we're going to cover these guys. And we saw them kick the Rams' ass with that in the Super Bowl. The 49ers, if you have a healthy Verrett, and then you have Akilo and Sherman, and you have Kwan Williams, that might be something that they could do.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, like I said, I asked Grant this question on his Periscope, and I said, what were your thoughts basically on the DBs, safeties in particular? And he said the same thing. He thought Emmanuel Mosley played really well. We all know that we've all been a little worrisome, I guess, of our secondary, whether it be DBs, free safety, strong safety, whatever it may be. But I actually didn't mind the depth that we had back there that was playing this past weekend. Like you said, Emmanuel Mosley played a really good game. I think that one penalty call, he probably could have got his head around a little sooner to not get that PI call on him. Akello really didn't have much. I mean, he had that one play, but if you go back and look at Michael Gallup, he never
Yeah,
used to run.
and about that play with even with the killer, it's like he did a great job of getting hands on. He got in phase. Now, I pointed this out previously. I do those threads. I've done a couple on the Keller Witherspoon on the entire season. If you guys haven't seen those, if you type in Eric Crocker, and I don't know, they're threads. Maybe I'll retweet them out again. But they're very in depth on exactly who and what Keller Witherspoon is and how he has played. But that was one thing that I felt like I saw he could have done better at. His anticipation, it lacked at times. It's like it's obvious, like you're comfortably running with this guy. Now anticipate him sitting down, and I thought he lacked anticipation on that play. That was one thing where I just want to see him like get beat on something else. Don't get beat on something that's a little bit more routine, and I feel like you're in great control of the receiver. So I know I'm kind of going to rant about that play. It's only one play, but those are plays where it's like, hey, you should be breaking that up, right? We saw Chidobe Awuzie, the corner on the other side, also played with Akello at Colorado. When he was in great control of Bourne, and we threw that deep out to Bourne, what he dove, knocked the ball away. Those are things that Akello should have been doing when somebody threw that curl, and he was in great position to be able to stop and make that play. So I know I'm
Even
kind of going on a rant. I just kind of expect more out of him on simple things like that.
even DJ Reed made a play like that at the end zone. He dove in front of the ball to get it down. He wasn't in position to make a tackle or to make the stop of the ball, so he dove and knocked it away with two hands. He could have had a pick if he would have probably stayed on his feet, but he did his job. He broke it away. I was talking about the Akello one, and there was only really one ball thrown his way to Michael Gallup, I believe it, which was the first, that first drive. But Michael Gallup never used to run comeback routes, like ever. He was more of a go route guy and things like that. So I think he kind of threw Akello off because Akello was playing the go, and he started to switch his hips, and it was like, oh shit, he turned around and then came back.
Well, you're in the NFL now. Gallup has been in the league for a year. Curl routes have been a staple of the Cowboys offense. So it's just things that you got. It's not Gallup from Colorado State anymore. This is Gallup that's been in the NFL for a year, and he didn't have a bad year. He had a decent year last year, and they probably expect more going in the year two. So they're going to ask him to do different things that he probably wasn't doing in college. As a corner, you just have to prepare for everything.
Yeah. It's I was okay. I was kind of satisfied. I don't want to say I was like completely off the hook happy about our DBs and our safeties. I mean, to me, Marcel Harris balled out. If he continues to play like that, he's going to put Jaquiski Tart on the seat, like on the hot seat. And if he can stay healthy. I mean, what were your thoughts on Marcel Harris? And then we'll switch over to some other players.
Yeah, I saw some people kind of be down on him, but I thought it was good. He was flying around. he was very active in the run game around the box. I think he definitely is more of a true box safety or somebody that plays more along the line of scrimmage. I think he'd actually be good, like a good kind of how the Rams use Mark Barron, right? Is like a strong safety that plays like more of a weak side linebacker position. I think he'd be somebody that'd be like terrific at that. But overall, you know, I liked what I saw. I have to go back and watch it again and kind of specifically like zone in on him. But just from just watching the game, I was like, you know what? Like, this dude's active right now. He's active around the box. He's active in the passing game. He was active on the deep ball where we were kind of beat up the team, but it was like he got over there like last minute. And even if maybe it was a completion, he would have made the tackle. But, it was like, damn, where'd he come from? He showed pretty good range. So, Marcel Harris, man, like, I'm not saying like he's somebody that's gonna start where I don't want to like just put him over somebody like Tart, but I did see somebody that, hey, maybe he's a solid reserve, and he was last year, right? When he played against the Broncos, he made some plays to kind of help us win that game. So yeah, Marcel Harris, man, it was. I don't want to say he had a great game, but it was an active game, and I like that.
I liked how active he was, how physical he was, and I just like that physicality. I mean, Tart's physical too when he's down there. So Tart's only issue is staying healthy, and hopefully we can get a healthy Tart this year and see this kid ball out because he's a really good athlete. Another guy that stuck out to me, we won't stay on him too long, was Dre Greenlaw. He had some blown coverages, like one or two, but other than that, I mean, he was a tackling machine. The same with Azir. I don't even know how to say his name. Azir Shahir. Whatever, I'm just gonna call him Z because my man was balling. But after the Colbert ejection, you saw this defense rise up, and that was like a big thing that I took away from the defensive side of the ball too, because of the fact that we didn't just let ourselves down. We actually went up. You saw more of a better and more physical defensive front and play calling from Robert Saleh in the third and fourth quarters. Do you agree with that? Like the calling, I gave when we were talking about our goods on the overreaction show. I said the defensive play calling. I thought Robert Saleh did a really good job with the play calling. There was a lot more blitzing. Emmanuel Mosley missed on one, like whiffed completely on the wrong hip, and then he missed also a running back coming up and forced him back inside, but he did his job on the blitz. But what were your thoughts on there you go, Aziz Al-Shaher. That's what JD says. That's what his name is. I'll just call him Z.
I liked it. And he should be. A lot of these guys are returning for the third year, most of these guys. So you should be able to expand on a lot of different things that you were doing. Now, it is a little risky because we had so many blown coverages last year. And, you got to know that right now in preseason, people aren't scheming so much against the 49ers. So maybe when guys are scheming and they see those things coming, maybe those things don't work as well. I don't know. Maybe you caught them off guard. But if it is something that, hey, it works regardless, I liked what I saw. And he needs to continue to use Emmanuel Mosley and blitzing. He had a near sack on, I want to say Dak Prescott, or maybe it was Cooper Rush. But
Oh, there you go. You're back now. We lost you there for a second. Your mic's muted. I think we lost Croc. I don't know if he froze or what. Let's see. So I'm going to just go over some of these comments until we get him back. So Dak needs to know what he's worth, like $50 million. No, he's definitely not worth $50 million. I see. I'm not going to talk about Dak in here. Kenny in here with the hit squad, I see. Big shout out to the hit squad. Hope Dallas overpays Dak big time. I'd love to see them stuck with a big contract. JD Hawkhater TV's in here. Van Life is in here. Jimmy Gotropolo, Gray Bush Salomon, Brian Carter, David Yang, Callie and Jason Long. What's going on? Texas Niners, Ralph C. Got a ton of different people in here. Kerry Wade, Parrish Bradford. What's going on, baby? Rolls Royce, my man Rolls Royce, J Tan. Looks like we lost Croc. See if he'll pop back in. Yeah, like I said, the other thing. All right, cool. Rombo show is about to come on in a little bit. Peace. See you later. Have fun over there. Debo needs more reps. I definitely agree. Ferguson says, that's funny. What's up, Mr. Robot? Why you guys going to advertise in here? I don't know what you're talking about. Swaggy's black version of Alex Smith, good, but needs everything to play well. I guess they're talking about Dak. Yeah, so I'm not sure if Croc's going to jump back in or not. I'm not staying on much longer. I know that a lot of people want to watch Hard Knocks as well, which came on at 10 o'clock, so that was 10:15. That's all right. So the biggest takeaways that I had was, when I watch preseason games, I don't really watch for the score. I could care less who wins or loses. Obviously, a win is better. But I look at physical play and what we have in depth and what we have behind guys, how people look and things like that. Guys that really stood out to me, which I've always liked, Ross Dwelly, definitely stood out. Dre Greenlaw, Emmanuel Mosley, Debo, Jalen Hurd, Nick Mullins still looks pretty good. CJ Beathard, as much as I hate this dude, and I think he's dookie, I think he progressed a little bit. I think he looked a little bit better than he was normally. Offensive line was pitiful with the backdrop of that offensive line that we had out there. I mean, it was that line was horrible. Obviously, we're going to get better as the season goes along with health, getting all of our starters back. But we played a tough game and came out on top 17-9 with a, 2s, 3s, and 4s playing up against 1, 2s, 3s, and 4s, because we did play that first starting offense for the first drive or so. Their starting defense was out there for like 2 drives, minus some pieces. Amari Cooper wasn't out there. Their linebacker wasn't out there. I forget his name. But anyway, Rolls Royce says he's got his own YouTube now. Check it out. Rolls Royce, check it out on YouTube. Mr. Robot's in here. What's going on? So I want some Herd Knocks. I love this. F Hard Knocks. I want some Herd Knocks. I love it. Sean Lee, that was his name. Yeah, Sean Lee wasn't out there. Thanks, Jimmy Gotropolo. I couldn't remember his name. Yeah, so I mean, I took some really goods away from it. There were, I showed these to you earlier. Dre Greenlaw, 5 tackles. He had 5 tackles. Debo Samuel had 2 catches, 61 yards, 14 yards for rushing, which was really good. Jalen Hurd, 3 catches, 31 yards, 2 touchdowns. Both coming in the red zone. Jeremiah Valaga, 2 sacks. First day coming in, playing. Same thing with Wilds. First day putting on a uniform for the Niners. It came out and played well. Raheem Mostert got hurt with a concussion. Running backs still looked pretty decent. I mean, I know we didn't rush for a whole lot of yards, but they still looked good. In this offense, you got to kind of be patient. You got to see those, be able to read that block and know which hole you're going to go to in this type of scheme. So, guys, if you're just joining in, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. Make sure you set your bell for notifications for whenever we go live. Today, we are talking about 49ers versus Cowboys recap. We did an overreaction show the night after. Obviously, it was an overreaction show. But, that's what overreactions are for. This is a true story right here. Jimmy Gotropolo says, penalties took away a lot of rushing yards. Absolutely. I mean, we had 18 penalties for like 200 and some odd yards. That is, in itself is horrible. So I want to hear what some of you guys say. I want to hear what you guys had to say about what was your biggest takeaway? Show me some of them in the comment section so I can see that you guys are in here. I'll broadcast it on the screen. Let people know who you think. Dario Loves God says Pettis should return punts in the regular season. Paris Bradford says, like to see Valuga with the ones. It's just, where is he going to play? Backup D looked promising. Yes, this was something big that I took away from. There wasn't a whole lot of sacks, but there was a lot of pressures in my eyes. I really love the way that they're playing. Just get up and go. You know what I mean? Go to the backfield. Go to the backfield. Maintain your gap and just push that line backward. So, why does Kyle love Beathard so much? I have no idea. Red October. James Jr. should do kickoffs. Rolls Royce says. Let's see. Worried about our O-line. Got to protect Jimmy G. Spy Nick Danger says. Pettis has me more worried as he played against 2s and 3s and produced nothing. I think Pettis will be fine. It's just we got to find a way that he fits into this system, as in, utilize him to what he's best for. I'm not saying that he's not good. We've already talked about this earlier on the show. I just think right now he's kind of competing to see what his role is going to be in this offense. But he definitely makes this team, and he definitely produces this year. Moser should do kick returns. LeBron Ship, what's going on, LeBron? Hope all is well, buddy. Beathard was a third rounder. Got to give him a chance, bro. Nick Mullins was an undrafted guy. We gave him a chance, and he's outproduced Beathard. Beathard, whether he's a third rounder or not, Dak Prescott is not a good quarterback and is about to get paid, and he was a fourth rounder, and so that means that Beathard should be producing. Beathard has no pocket presence. His footwork isn't good. The only thing that he has better than any of these other quarterbacks is a deep ball. And his deep ball didn't even look good the other night to Deebo Samuel. So whether you're drafted first or last, you're still drafted in the NFL. You need to play. Would you let Herb be on the running back on goal line plays? No. I mean, I would probably set him up in the outside for screens and things like that. But I don't know. I don't think he's going to be a short line, short and goal running back. So O-line will be okay, Robert Gavin says. I believe it will be okay as well once we get our center back, Weston Richburg, because whatchamacallit cannot snap the ball right now. Ben Garland, all his snaps in shotgun are below the knees of the quarterbacks and things like that. Is Tim Harris better than Maben? LeBron Ship says. I think so. Personally, I think Tim Harris is a lot better than Greg Maben. Let's see. Kenny says, I freaked out when we took 2 wide receivers in 2 draft back-to-back. I take it all back. God forgive me. Them dudes are ballers. Kenny, I was the same way. You guys watched me live here on the show during the draft. I was pissed off that we took Jalen Hurd and taking 2 receivers back-to-back. I thought we could go after different guys like Mac Wilson or other players that were out there. But damn, if I'm not happy being wrong, because Jalen Hurd is balling, and I can't wait to see what this kid's got. Should Trent Taylor make this team with his repeated injuries? He's only had 2 injuries, so I don't know what the repeated injuries are. Jamison Jackson, he had a back surgery in 2017 and didn't come back in 2018 with the same injury, and then now he just broke his 5th metatarsal. So his toe, his pinky toe, had a screw put in that. It is a Jones break, but they caught it early enough. It was a stress fracture. It wasn't fully broken, so they caught it in time. So Trent Taylor's definitely making this team. He's not going anywhere. I believe the third quarter point wasn't playing against the third stringers. Yes, didn't CJ come out in the second half of the game? I believe the third quarter. At that point, wasn't he playing against third stringers and undrafted free agents? Yes, he was playing against thirds. The report is that Jimmy Garoppolo will start the game against Denver, and then C.J. Beathard will come in before Nick Mullins and probably get more playing time than Nick Mullins in week 2, I guess, to kind of vary things out. I'm not sure how much we see Nick Mullins, maybe a quarter, and then Wilton Spate again if he decides to play Wilton Spate again for the fourth quarter. I gave David Yang. I gave him Balaga a shout out. He did have 2 sacks. I did give him a shout out earlier. David Yang. Let's see. Mitch was a steal in the draft. Tara was playing on it and wasn't complaining. Yeah. definitely. He was definitely playing on that toe for a while in camp, and then finally just said something about it. But yeah, will Poindexter make this roster? He should be to go soon. Yeah, no, David Yang. Yeah, I definitely agree. I think it's good that they attacked it before it was actually broke, or they're doing that with these players. They're sitting them, and so injuries don't get worse, which is something that I need to do. Trade CJ to Tennessee or Philadelphia. As CJ Tan says that. Trade CJ to Tennessee or Philadelphia. How many wide receivers make it and who? I think Jamison Jackson, I think there's 7 now, depending on what the outcome of Trent Taylor is. If Trent Taylor's back before week 1, I think it's 6. If he's not back, I think it's 7 for that roster spot. Is Mike Shanahan tutoring Jimmy G right now? He was during the offseason. I don't know if he is right now. That was because Kyle Shanahan was so, during the season last year, not the offseason, during the season last year, because Kyle Shanahan didn't have all the time to work with Jimmy Garoppolo, so he was sitting down with Mike Shanahan. So I like Poindexter as well. But, guys, yeah, man, that's, we're going to bring you another show this week. Today is, Tuesday? Tomorrow night we're doing a show. Not sure on the time yet, but we've all come up with a 53-man early prediction roster. We're going to do a comparison on the 53-man roster tomorrow. So make sure you guys check in and tune in with us on that. We've been going about almost an hour now. I didn't want to make this a long show tonight, so Mike couldn't jump on. He was on with me, and then he got a call from work. He had to, he's on call this week, so he had to go do a job. So it sucks that I couldn't have him on here with me, but we'll get him on here tomorrow night, hopefully, and every other show as well, as he's always on with us. So let's see. Do you think Matthews makes it? I'm not really sure yet. I got to see more out of Matthews. Do you think there's a chance to trade a wide receiver to the Giants? The wide receivers are falling like dominoes. Possible. It's possible. Definitely possible. So, guys, with that, man, that pretty much is all we're going to do tonight. 49ers versus Cowboys recap. The season has started off well. It looks like that we have a lot of depth behind other pieces. I can't wait to see the starting defensive line or the starting offensive line, the starting players out there playing, because I think we can bring some havoc. It's going to be an interesting year if we can stay healthy. I know we have a lot of injuries right now. But they're all nagging injuries. You know what I mean? So hopefully, our strength and conditioning staff and our coaches have picked up on that, and they are going to, take things precautionary. And, the Rams didn't play a single starter last year. I'm not worried about if the starters play or not. As long as they're ready for week 1, that's all I care about, going to the season healthy. So, guys, like I said, if this is your first time here checking us out on YouTube, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. Make sure you set that bell for notifications so that you know when we're going live. And check us out on Facebook and Instagram, Nothing But Niners, all spelled out. NY to the Bay does an awesome job holding Facebook and Instagram down over there. Big shout out to NY to the Bay on Twitter and also on Facebook, Mike. Check us out on Twitter Twitter and Snapchat at Nothing But Niners. I'll put that up on the screen here so you guys can see what that is. It's all spelled out. It's like this right here. There you go, right there. That's our Twitter handle and our Snapchat handle, so make sure you check that out. And then, like I said, Facebook and Instagram is all spelled out, Nothing But Niners. So make sure you guys check those out. Like I said, give us a like, a subscribe. We got about 112 people in here right now watching. So yeah. So, guys, I appreciate all of you guys for joining in tonight. I know a lot of you guys want to go watch Hard Knocks or Rambo or whoever you're going to watch. So, guys, other than that, man, I don't have anything else to say, man. So, above all else, stay faithful. We out. Peace.